I'll show you how it's done. Shazam!
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to our channel here at Underdeveloped, and today we have another review for you guys' Head Top. This review is the review to The Materialists, directed by Miss Celine Song, who directed one of my favorite movies of the decade, if not my favorite movie of the decade, 2 years ago. It should have took everything in the fucking Oscars. Everything.
It should have.
Even for animation, because it's that good. Take everything. Screw it. And that movie is called Past Lives. We saw Past Lives in Regal Essex Street, one of the best times we had such an engagement, especially when you get to the end of the second act, final act. The movie really builds up and delivers, and it's just very emotional. And, you know what I mean? So I have very high expectations going into this. I saw some TV spots, well, not TV spots, some more trailers, online stuff about it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I seen stuff about it, and when I saw the trailer, I was not impressed. It seemed like Hollywood schlock to me, like one of those generic, like kind of like Netflix rom-coms. I'm like, this is what she's doing after doing Past Lives, a respected director. I'm like, you gotta be joking, you know what I mean? And the many shows I've seen after that didn't give me the vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like, shows like getting that vibe. So, like, I'm very curious what's going on here. Like, I trust you. The people involved in this from the creative side is like all top tier people with great reps. So I'm like, what are you doing? I'm hoping it's something, a very unique take or something like that. But as it is right now, is just something that's not vibey. You know what I mean? Kind of weird. This like.
Yeah, the trailers are very much not good.
Yeah, and so that's the kind of vibe I had coming into it. You know, I was not, my expectation was quite low because I'm like, I already don't like it. But then I watched it. And when we watched it, and by like 30, 40 minutes, I'm like, oh, this is damn good. You know what I mean? Definitely not Past Lives good, I'll say, at least to me. But this is solid. You've shown that you could take a concept that would be very irritating and it's like, and just take this kind of like this plot that's like a plot of any kind of rom-com in the 2010s and 2000s, and you made it into something actually special. Like something that really makes you think and question things, and character development and interesting twists and turns. This is a pretty solid movie. You know?
Yeah, the trailers really do this movie the service. It doesn't represent the movie at all.
This is a weird situation where the trailers did a worse job.
Yeah, the trailers are advertising a completely different movie that doesn't actually exist. It boggles my mind. I'm like, why is that direction you went with those trailers? That's just so the opposite of what this movie is. Oh god, like
maybe let's get into the synopsis of what this is about.
Yeah, so the synopsis of this movie is basically The Materialists is about this matchmaker played by Dakota Johnson. She's very good at her job. She's very skilled. She's getting couples together. She's trying to match person A with person B, blah, blah, blah. But in comes Mr. Perfect, or Mr. Fantastic, as I should say. It's Pedro Pascal shows up, rich as shit, immediately flirting at her, and of course she's like, "Oh, you don't want to be with me," but he's trying to convince her otherwise. So they start dating, and almost immediately she also runs into John, played by Chris Evans, who was her ex, and she's going through her feelings with her ex, and basically the whole movie is this love triangle between these three, on top of all this background noise that's about the job of being a matchmaker and just a real brutal, realistic characterization of the dating world in the real life, which goes into a lot of the very ickier parts of dating. It's very much a mesh of those two different ideas, and how they connect together, and that's basically The Materialists as a movie.
Yeah, of course, it's a giant exaggeration of that as well.
Yeah, some parts are definitely exaggerated, but a lot of that stuff, it does happen in real life. Like, obviously, more extreme cases.
Actually, stuff, yes, let's say there's a little more extreme in this movie. But, yeah, so, like, one thing about this movie, like, Celine Song has a way of, like, bringing New York City to life in a way it's really never been done before on camera. Like, everything looks natural, everything looks normal, like, you're really in the city. But it's still you made it so filled with splendor. You know what I mean? Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's a very different vibe than any other movie you'd see in New York, because they kind of over glamorize how New York looks. I feel in a lot of these movies, where I'm like, oh, everything's so picturesque, everything's so clean. I'm like, no, New York is gritty and dirty, but there's a sincere beautifulness to that actually does exist, and Celine captures that, as you said. So it really helps her movies stand out just visually, and I think it works great here too. Even more, I still think it looks better in Past Lives because it kind of meshes better with the tone of that story.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it still does work well, I'd say.
Yeah, simple, realistic, but majestical. That's a hard thing to pull off.
Oh, definitely.
So that alone is really tops in my book. And then, of course, like, I have my own qualms about this, like the whole dating scene, using men for their resources and the men using women for their bodies. It just really hides how entitled people can really be. And she funds that, you know what I mean? But the thing about her character, which makes her interesting and not makes it this unredeemable, is that she's kind of self-aware on TV, but she just kind of does nothing about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she was complicit for most of this movie.
So she does make her complicit, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
By disassociation.
Yeah, absolutely. But, of course, she does eventually grow more of a conscience about that over the course of the movie, as certain events do happen, as, you know, a bit of a spoiler, but one of her clients does get sexually assaulted on a date. Which, yikes.
That's when the movie came out. I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty dark. This is like, for real. This is real life. I'm like, okay.
It is, because that, unfortunately, is also realistic, because we live in a fucked up world where the statistic of 1 in 3 women will be raped in their lifetime keeps popping up.
Yikes.
And yeah, very uncomfortable, and Celine Song is not afraid to hit that level of uncomfortness. So, again, if you're looking at her movies, then prepare for some gut punches, because she always delivers from movie to movie. Very different type of one this time around. I'd much rather have the heartbreak than to go through that. But, yeah. Yeah. Well, of course, even that doesn't distract from your main love triangle, which I think mostly works because... I think mostly it works, like, it's... A lot of it is traditional, like, kind of Hollywood stuff, but it is elevated by the presence of all this other stuff in the film, I think. Again, it's trying to maintain a balance between the more realistic parts and more, like, and your more Hollywood-style plots. And I think it does a good job of that. I don't think it does too bad. Though I do think the pacing does get kind of wonky at times. Mm-hmm. Because you have some points where, like, hey, we're talking about relation stuff, and now we're confronting, and now all of a sudden we have to drive back all the way back, interrupt our conversation, drive all the way back to take care of our client who's going through another hassle, the same guy, which, understandable. I would totally do the same as her at the moment, go there, make sure that this client is okay, that she's safe. But at the end of the day, from a narrative perspective, it is a little weird. We did take that detour again after that. But that being said, I think that's all my only real issues with the movie, is that the pacing does just get kind of wonky at times. But overall, like, the actors are good. Even Dakota Johnson has, like, she's not like a good actor, but she has this weird awkwardness that kind of works in this movie, because in this movie she plays a character that's kind of like cold but also kind of charming, and that's like Dakota Johnson's acting style, like, to a T. So this is like the most perfect casting I've probably ever seen her in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any final thoughts about the Materialists before we get into scores?
Sure. Yeah. So Materialists, yeah. So, like, I have my own. I'm someone that's in New York and in the dating scene, so it's like I sympathize a lot with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I sympathize a lot with that, and it boils down to my personal feelings about, like, how modern dating is and how modern women are and men are, you know what I mean, on set and stuff like that. But this movie kind of addresses that problem as you go on. You see, like, no, she understands that this is wrong, and she eventually settles into that decision even more, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
You know. But other than that, yeah, like, as time went on, it kind of showed the nuances with modern dating, and, like, oh, then it has this level of self-awareness, like, this is exactly what it is. Learn from this, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and it's good character development, because she was someone who started off very like disillusioned with it, and it's all about money and whatever else. Like, none of that shit matters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What they want, they get. You know.
Mm-hmm.
and you think they're
Yeah.
not shit.
Sometimes you don't really sometimes you don't really know what you think you want. You think you want something, but you might not actually. But with that being said, I think it's about time we get into scores. So I'm thinking like 86 maybe?
With this movie, yeah, like high 80s, like 86, 87. Anywhere from 85 to 87, I'm giving this movie, I'll say probably 87. I mean, this movie thoroughly impressed me, especially by the end. I mean, it's really good moments like this one, very intimate. It's really just that she's a good director, she's a good storyteller, because it's how these characters start from one place and end up at the next place. Like Pedro Pascal, he's coming up as this kind of like very put together, the unicorn, the perfect guy, and who looks at her more than just. And even with all these qualities, he looks at this woman more like Dakota Johnson's character, who he gets with, is like as like she's everything to him. You know what I mean? Which makes, and it goes back to what she said about wanting to feel valued. You know what I mean? But we realize that that's not love, and then we've seen that mistake play out. Yeah. But it's not played off for like, oh, she won, whatever else. Is no, this is probably gonna fail. You know what I mean? You can't confront every single problem in your life, so you kind of let those lingering problems, and we know to ourselves, oh, yeah, she's fucked up. She's going to fuck up. You know, so
yeah. Very true. Very well said.
You know what I mean? So other than that, you know what I mean? Like, and it's beyond that too. Chris Evans, the timing when he comes in, and the flashback of them in the car, that tells you everything that you need to know. That like, hey, I you know what I mean? Like, because we couldn't do shit because he always broke. You know what I mean? And that kind of contributes to her mental state now. And her mental state is really of that of pure stoicism.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So. And the movie touches up on all that. So in a way, the reason why they do that is to establish what they do later on, and they could be like, "Oh, I get why this person did it," and it makes the movie all that good. So that's a big part of how the movie got me hooked. You know, beyond of course being that's what got me hooked on the movie. You know, it's more it's about how you tell the story.
Absolutely. It's about how you tell the story, and I think they did a good job of telling the story for the most part. Yeah. I definitely do recommend anyone who wants to see this movie go see it out in theaters. Like, don't let the trailers fool you, because it's not the movie that's being advertised. It really, really isn't.
Yeah, the trailers actually do it a disservice. This movie's way better.
Yes.
Than what the trailers provide.
The trailers are bad and misleading.
2010 schlock, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
A 2000 schlock. Like, this is like a real life. He's about to be the shit, you know?
Yeah. So, by all means, go to your local movie theater. Always support movies in your local movie theater. And this is definitely one worth supporting.
Absolutely.
So, with that being said, be sure to hit the like, subscribe button. We'll catch you next time for some more content.
See you guys later.